Russian figure skater Stolbova sharply responded to Canadian figure skater Megan Demel's accusations. Demel stated, "Stolbova and Klimov were walking to the locker room with Dr. Shvetsky after warm-ups. I always found that odd." The Canadian also said she was told that skaters in Russia drank a tar-like liquid. "Dear Megan, I'm sure this message will reach you and you yourself or someone will translate it to you. So let me ask you this. Is this the best you could come up with? I'd send you a message, but I see you're already from there," Stolbova wrote on social media. Two-time bronze medalist of the World Championships, American figure skater Vincent Zhou again spoke out about not receiving a medal of the team event of the Olympic Games. "My positive COVID test and missing the individual Olympic competition was already surreal enough. But then layers of complexity and absurdity were added to the situation. I don't think any of us envisioned that it would take this long to resolve what seemed black and white. That said, it remains as surreal even now as it was on day one. There is a significant economic cost to not winning an Olympic medal. Sponsors love medals. It's very difficult when you've done all the work and you have nothing to show for it. Sponsors look at you like, well, you're not an Olympic medalist. Your market value is just not right." Ruseta has been promoting doping in Russia for more than a decade. The IOC, for its part, has repeatedly refused to hold Russia accountable for a state-sponsored doping program involving more than 1,000 athletes. WADA, which is controlled by the IOC, reinstated Ruseta in 2018 despite the agency's refusal to provide data detailing the extent of doping in Russia. And the CAS Court, which is a division of the IOC, its president is a vice president of the IOC, has repeatedly sided with Russia. Which of these many actors represents the interests of me and my teammates and, indeed, the interests of the broader sports community? CNN quoted Zhou as saying, "We just want observers to be convinced of the impartiality of what is going on inside and the absence of shady business. There is a shocking lack of transparency. Governing bodies exist to enforce fair competition, the purity of sport and to act on behalf of those for whom they exist, the athletes. What is happening now cannot be pleasing. Justice must be done as quickly as possible. This is not the first anti-doping rule violation and it certainly won't be the last. If no action is taken, it will continue to happen. We want to do everything we can to make sure that future generations don't have to deal with this kind of thing," the American figure skater said. At a session of the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Lausanne in the case of Kamila Valieva, it became known about the violation that the World Anti-Doping Agency committed when notifying the figure skater of a positive doping sample. The verdict in the case was postponed until November. After the presentation of evidence by the parties, the Commission ordered the submission of additional documentation and, in order to give the parties an opportunity to consider it, gave 2 more days to consider the appeal, reads the CAS press service. And then another question arose. When is the verdict? Not soon. So far, it is very difficult to say when the point will be set. At the end of additional hearings in November, the arbitration decision will be prepared. At the moment it is impossible to say when the decision will be announced, said the court. However, the CAS press service gave a clarification. At the end of the additional hearings in November, an arbitration award will be prepared. At this point, it is impossible to say when the decision will be announced, the court said. That is, the U.S. national team, which is tired of counting the days with empty medal boxes, will wait further. Waiting for a fair court ruling. But at the same time, another important point has come up. Bonus hearings on Valieva's case are scheduled for November 9th to 10th. But on November 10th to 13th the Grand Prix of Russian figure skating is scheduled in Kazan, where Valieva is among the participants. It was originally thought that after the trial Kamila will have a chance to calmly approach the competitions. The distribution of the national team members by stages of the Russian Grand Prix has already been made. But if there are objective reasons that require a postponement, the FFCCR will make the appropriate decision, FFCCR Director General Alexander Kogan told TASS. Russian athletes will be able to compete at the 2024 Paralympics in neutral status. The General Assembly of the International Paralympic Committee, IPC, is taking place in Bahrain on September 28 and 29. Earlier, the General Assembly voted against the full suspension of the Russian Paralympic Committee, RPC. However, the IPC members supported a partial suspension of the RPC membership. 90 members of the General Assembly voted in favor of this proposal, 56 voted against it. Another 6 members of the organization abstained. Due to the partial suspension, the RPC loses all rights of membership in the IPC, but its athletes have the right to participate in the Paralympic Games 2024 in Paris as individual neutral athletes, the IPC said. Tatyana Tarasova called the admission of Russians to the Paralympics joyful news. "Thank God, we are very happy for them and believe in our Paralympians. It is joyful news that they will finally be able to perform and represent Russia. Even though it won't be written on their uniforms what country they are from," the honored USSR figure skating coach said. Olympic figure skating champion Roman Kostomarov, who lost his feet and hands due to the effects of severe pneumonia, has learned to swim with prosthetic limbs. Walking, running, and now swimming. Only forward, Kostomarov signed the video in his Telegram channel. Alexandra Trusova offered to guest the music to her new number. From October 1 to 3, Trusova will perform in a show with the participation of Russian figure skaters in Beijing. "I've already arrived at the airport. Today I'm flying to China for a show. I will skate there 2 numbers, one will be Cruella, and the second, a new one. Write in the comments assumptions, under what music I will skate," said Trusova.